everyone, welcome to Scouting for Growth. Today, I'm meeting with Jean-Charles Velge, one of the co-founders of Qover and a great friend of mine. In 2016, Jean-Charles co-founded Qover with Quentin Colmant. Indeed, after spending part of his career in the private equity industry, half of his time in Europe and the other half in Hong Kong, he decided to become an entrepreneur. Jean-Charles started as a consultant at Bain Company, then joined the largest Benelux fund, NPM Capital, before moving to Redhorse in Hong Kong. Jean-Charles tells me that he runs today the world's first insurance as a service platform. Let's dive in and find out what that means. I'm so pleased today to be with Jean-Charles Velge. So thank you very much to be with us today, Jean-Charles.
Hi, Sabine. It's a pleasure to be here today.
How are you?
I'm feeling extremely well. I'm traveling again, which is interesting. Happy to be on the podcast. Just for the people listening, the interesting part here is that Sabine and I, we met back in 2016, I think it was, at the first ever ITC in Las Vegas. So we're, I think, in the first batch of people really thinking about what is the future of insurance, what does insurtech look like, what's embedded insurance, and so forth. So yeah, happy to be here, 5-6 years down the line.
Honored for us to be talking together, and exactly 5-6 years down the line. So I cannot wait to uncover what Qover has been doing for the past few years. So Jean-Charles, my first question to you is, what does this mean to be the first world insurance platform as a service in the world?
Well, yes, I think we clearly pioneered in insurtech at Qover. So as we said, in 2016, we were a handful of companies thinking globally about what it really does to move the needle in insurtech. And there's, as you know, there's many different business models in how you can attack the value chain in insurance. And where we tried to be really innovative was on the business model itself and how to transform the insurance industry thanks to technology. Not just how to distribute a product or how to use part of the technology stack to enhance the processes of an insurance company, but how to change the industry by applying technology. And that's what we've built. We've built that platform, that technology platform that is linked with the full regulatory and insurance infrastructure to do insurance at scale across Europe with open APIs first. And I think the model is more valid today than it ever was. We were probably early to the market, but when I look at insurance companies today, what comes out of all their strategic discussions is that what we've built, typically that digital MGA sitting in front of traditional balance sheets, is one of the models or one of the preferred models that they look at today as the future of insurance. So what we do today is more valid than ever.
Absolutely. And before we dive too early into Qover, I would like to introduce you a little bit more, Jean-Charles. So, you have been working in industry for a very long time. You have been in the equity market. Can you tell us a little bit more about you as Jean-Charles and why Jean-Charles came about with Quentin Colmant to work together as a founding team of Qover?
Yes, so the story of Qover is the story of Quentin and myself, very much the two of us. So we co-founded together in 2016. We basically had both very traditional careers, I would say. We met at university back in 2017 and studied finance, as you did in 2016-17, right before the financial crisis. And Quentin went after university into insurance at Allianz, and I went to more the financial industry. I did private equity first year in Europe, and then for half of my career and then the rest in Hong Kong. So very much financial. What the interesting part was that I touched nearly every business model possible with my career in finance, except for the insurance industry. And so when we started talking with Quentin, it found it incredibly interesting to see how the insurance industry could be transformed. And we started talking about it back in 2015, and then left everything and started in 2016 with Quentin to try and change it. And the interesting part is both of us knew that we had something entrepreneurial, but we didn't consider ourselves entrepreneurs before that. And we both basically jumped both foots and learned to swim and do it while we were doing it. So that's an interesting thing.
It's often what happens, right? I think the beautiful thing to work with, for myself, with entrepreneurs, is you have this energy of, focusing on outcomes and wanting to change the world, and wanting to do that with very limited resources. When we were working in big companies, we had everything we needed, right? And so you have to change your mindset around how you use resources, how you use people. How do you actually focus always on outcome so that you can minimize how much you can use, right, resources to achieve the outcome? Tell me, what are you showing me right now?
What I'm trying to show is what's written on this room here. In the other way around, is hacking insurance. It's a bit what you said. Something that we use since the beginning of the company is, how can we hack insurance? How can we really tackle and hack and make it as efficient as possible, as smartly as possible? And that's exactly to your point that you were making. So it's in the DNA of Qover, I would say.
That's superb. And Scouting for Growth is about democratizing the life hacks of people like you. So, Jean-Charles, I was reading in one of the presentations you shared with me that the essence of insurance is to provide financial stability and peace of mind. Can you tell us more what that means for you?
Yes, very much so. And I think it's one of the most important pieces here, is that along the way, insurance lost itself in a certain way. If you go back to what really makes insurance special, is that insurance will protect you at the moment where you're the most vulnerable. And over the years, with all the administration that has been built around it, some of the bad claims experiences, and so forth, this has been forgotten. But the essence itself of insurance is to be there when you need it. And that's what we need to rebuild and make it possible. And I think that technology in that sense is extremely well placed to make it happen, and make it happen at scale in a very pinpointed way. And that's the philosophy that we have at Qover, is to always build the best policies possible, with the best coverage possible, with the best service possible. And that's what the industry needs to build to gain the confidence of the consumers back, which in a certain way might have been lost along the way.
And it is lost along the way, probably because of some of the words I found in some of the content your team shared with me, caring for users and customers, building social resilience and safety, and, being there when something happened. And I guess what technology does today is enabling that in a seamless and friction-free manner.
Yes, completely. And what's really interesting also is that you see that insurance, it can be well done insurance can be extremely valuable across the whole value chain of many different industries. Insurance can be used by industries to make your product in a certain way more sticky, to have a better conversation with your customer, to have better touch points with your customers, to be there when something fails around your product and that you have to make it up. And all those stories, user stories, are very valuable and have to be placed again in front of the insurance value chain. And that's what we try to do with all our partners and for our final customers.
So tell us a little bit more about your partners and final customers. You are a very different organization because you've built infrastructure and a solution which enables you to build products for anyone but insurance, right?
Yes, that's correct. So we went from the idea when started Qover to say that tech is not a vertical anymore. Tech is that horizontal that goes through all the verticals of the economy. And when you look at all the winners on that tech horizontal going through the verticals of the economy, well, all those people, all those companies, they all need insurance. either to embed insurance, to enhance their products, either to cross-sell insurance, upsell insurance. And for them, insurance needs to be two things. It needs to be digital and it needs to be cross-border. And what we've built to that is a platform that's basically a digital native insurance company without a balance sheet that can build any non-life insurance product, so for any of those verticals, in any different country. Okay, so that's cross-border from day one. And so we touch quite a bit of industries. We historically relatively strong in the gig economy, where Deliveroo was one of our most first famous clients, but we are very active in the fintech space, which makes sense. Insurtech, fintechs, they're bound to work together a lot, and typically there we do quite a bit of insurances with Revolut. We have an excellent use case in bike insurance, so e-bike insurance, where I think we'll be one of the biggest, well, probably the biggest e-bike insurer in the Western world in the next years, because we've built a very compelling product that works for all the countries with just one API. And lately we entered the motor market, mainly for electric cars. And so you see we have a whole panel where we basically go after big tech companies and offer them our service so that they can seamlessly build digital insurance solutions for their final consumers.
So let's talk about let's call it the fintech chasm, that complexity we're living in. And you mentioned already that you're working with a lot of industry, auto, food. You mentioned, I guess you will probably go into fashion and stuff that we don't even think about today. And you are providing that API, that single API, which can touch different countries, so cross-border. And so my question to you is, how do you reduce the complexity of how fintech and incumbents works together?
Good question. The reality is that there's several things. The complexity of tech companies working with incumbents, especially in the insurance industry, is double. The first one is that tech companies are not really digital. Insurance companies are not really digital, or very sketchily so. And so it's difficult for them to build the right tools, the right stack for the tech companies. And secondly, they're very much local. So a traditional insurance company would, have a branch in the UK, would have a branch in France, in Brussels, and so forth. But those branches don't really talk to each other. So a company that wants to do cross-border insurance have to rebuild it block by block by block. So what we try to do is to marry tech and insurance. So we are as much a tech company as we are a legal and insurance company. And if you marry both together, you try and give, be that one single point of contact for your customer to be able to provide insurance digitally and cross-border, and keep all the complexities at cover to make it simple, one API first for the customer. So
me as a customer, I want to make this a little bit more simple for, the layman person to understand. So yep. Me, buying, I am on Deliveroo, but I guess you're insuring maybe
the
driver.
Yes.
Yes. Or when you look at electric cars, you are maybe supporting the electric car manufacturer to making sure that you can actually have the embedded insurance product with the car. Tell us a little bit more how it feels like to buy Qover, or do we feel it at all?
Well, that's the whole thing, is to make it as seamless as possible and as embedded as possible. I'll give a little bit another example that's very easy to understand, is typically when you buy an e-bike, okay? If you buy an e-bike today, which is a very fast growing market, an e-bike you will pay in average, let's say 2,000 euros for an e-bike. And that bike, you will use it in the city to go and do your groceries, to go to work and so forth. And so you want it to be insured by nature, because 2,000 euros out there in the jungle, it's something. And so what we offer is to the merchant that sell your bike online, one API. The merchant has to only integrate one API, and in that API, he has the full insurance infrastructure for the whole of Europe. So that API is for the whole of Europe, and our backend Qover's backend will handle all the complexities of doing pan-European insurance. So what the final consumer, what you will do is you will go and configure your bike, you configure your bike, you do your thing, and at the end there is one big button saying you want insurance. Okay. The final consumer just has to do one click. That insurance is incredibly well priced. We have some of the best price in the market. It's a very nice insurance product. It's completely white label. And that goes into your cart with your bike. You pay your bike with the insurance and you're directly insured at that moment or when your bike is shipped. And so that's the most embedded thing. Before you had to go back to your broker or go back to some random websites where you hope to find something. And here it's one standardized insurance product that works for the whole of Europe. Where we've linked at Qover the best customer experience possible. And so we handle most of the claims internally at Qover to make sure that at the moment of truth in insurance, is at the moment of claim, that we can do this as best as possible. And this is embedded insurance.
So that is interesting because you mentioned white label, you mentioned the one-touch button and a seamless experience, and you are managing claims. So is it why that, I read you have achieved a 95% customer satisfaction? Tell us how you get those numbers, Jean-Charles.
Well, because we have an incredible team here to start with, okay? We handle all the claims centrally from Brussels for the whole of Europe, okay? And so we do that with insurance clerks that come from all over Europe, and they're here centrally. We speak, I think, natively more than 12 or 13 languages, and we handle that. We do that as digitally as possible, but you can still always call us. And that's a feature that will stay for a very long time in insurance, because when you need insurance, you basically are at the moment where you're stressed or whatever, your bike was stolen, you just fell from your bike. So you need some human touch there. So what we do is we extensively survey our customers to understand what we can do better. Okay. We digitalize to the max whatever makes sense to be digitalized. And then we just have very streamlined processes. The fact that we own it internally is a very important thing. Very, very few insurtechs do that. Normally they work with TPAs, third-party administrators. We've done that in the past. It's challenging because you don't own it then. I don't say it doesn't work, but you don't own it. That's why we do most of it internally at Qover, to own the whole process. And when we see there's something to be fixed, we can go and fix it and have it fixed in the next 24 hours. And that's just, I would say, very much a focus on quality and on operational excellence.
And to achieve operational excellence, you need more understanding as to how the customer responds to your process. So yes, if you're actually using SLAs and actually have to wait for a change of the process, then you're actually damaging your customer relationship potential.
Then it's too late. To be honest, then it's too late.
It's too late, right? Yeah.
And you also need to have a consistent approach across the different countries. I'll give you an example. Is if a bike customer works with Qover or a delivery company works with Qover, all the claims coming either from Lithuania, from France, from the UK, from Sardinia, whatever, they will all come here and will receive the same kind of attention and service. Whereas when you work with traditional insurance companies, one of the claims will be handled in Lithuania, the other ones in France, the other ones in the UK, and the other one in Italy. And the service level you might expect from those is very different. And the knowledge of those countries about that specific program is very different. That's why it's very challenging for TPAs and insurers to actually have a decent claims experience that is consistent across the board. And that's exactly what we do at Qover. And that's why we have those 95%. So
you say European, cross-border. How far do we go across the world, Jean-Charles?
The vision is global, that's for sure. Then there is the execution on the vision. I think we'll dip our toes into the US market relatively soon, but in a light touch way, but so that we learn from it. We have a lot to do in Europe to start with. the next logical market would be the US for sure. But again, we'll do that in a light touch approach in the next months, I would say, and then we'll see if it's worthwhile to go all in the US. But at least the Western world is a achievable target, I would say.
How big is the team now?
We grew quite a bit. If you asked me this question a year ago, I think we were around 50 or something, and now we are around 130. So we grew quite a bit. We grew all across Europe, like everybody. We're hiring a bit everywhere. We're heavily skewed toward Brussels, our historical headquarters, but we have an office in London that's growing very quickly, and then have people a bit scattered around Europe.
So now I want to ask you maybe a little bit of a personal question or a team question. You know, as a leader of a fast-growing insurance technology platform company, how do you make sure that you remain in touch with 130 people, potentially globally? And how do you implement strategy in a, maybe, I think you probably work in hybrid, so in an hybrid working arrangement environment?
It's a difficult one, okay? It's clearly a difficult one, and I think many people would have different answers to this. There's not one cookbook that would be too easy. The culture is a big aspect here. I would say that the master word, if I may put it like that, is communication. So you need really clear communication towards the company, very open communication, very honest communication, very direct communication, frequent communication. That's the first, because then you make sure that the whole organization knows what's happening, knows what's aligned, okay? And then you need to be able to receive very quick and honest feedback from the organization for yourself and the leadership team to actually move the company as it needs. 130 is still, it's a lot without being a lot. Everybody still knows each other. I think that will be another question. If a year from now, when we're 350, you ask me the question, I don't know. But what we have a very strong company culture. We do a lot of things together. We do quite some offsites together. We have quite different evenings that we spend together when people want. So there's a good tight-knit culture here that I absolutely want to keep. That is very precious to me. I think we managed to keep the culture for 50 to 130, and I think we can be proud of that. Let's see when we grow even bigger. It's going to be a challenge, but happy to take up that challenge.
Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, growth is not only about challenge, but learning opportunities.
Yes.
But that takes me back to your starting point. You started as an embedded insurance, if I may say, proposition, delivering a one-stop shop platform in Europe and beyond. So what was your secret sauce? I know you already talked about the API and the verticals you've decided to focus on, but you know, what was the secret sauce to make it what it is today? And if you can share with us, what were your top 3 challenges?
I think one of the biggest challenge that we faced is that we pioneered InsurTech, really. As we were saying, we were at the first ITC with you, Sabine, and so forth, and nobody knew how to attack this industry, and there was no path set, okay? We're now 5-6 years down the line, and there's more clear ways, business models that have been tried and failed, or tried and worked, and so the path is clearer today than it used to be. I think that the very hard thing was we had no idea how to get a risk carrier and how to have a risk carrier actually trust an InsurTech. On the tech side, nobody had ever built anything on the new tech stacks for insurance. On the legal side, cross-border had never been done, okay? There was no lawyers that you could hire that knew what doing insurance cross-border actually even looked like. And talking to clients, they were themselves also structured country by country for insurance procurement, because that's how the industry was. So we had to tackle all those things at once, The first hack that we did was that we were the first insurtech worldwide to be accepted by the Lloyd's of London as a cover holder. So that put a big dent, I would say, and gave us quite some credibility towards the community and towards the other carriers, toward our clients and so forth. That helped us quite a bit. On the tech, we made all the right and wrong decisions, and that's how you build it. And then from the client side also, while we were growing, people started understanding the real value of having one touch point for insurance, fully digital, and that's how we grew. But yes, it's a lot of trial and error in the beginning.
And you mentioned also that you made a conscious decision to become an MGA. So yes. One question I have for you, which is coming a lot to me right now, is why the MGA model, and why is this getting so sexy today when it was not? 5 years ago, it was all about tech businesses. Now in insurance, it's like, if you have an MGA license, or you're looking at building tech with MGA, it's probably sexier, probably even for an investor. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, so we always decided to go the MGA route from day one, and how we explain, splitting the value chain and so forth, was about building that MGA. Why sit on that part of the value chain is we don't believe that as an insurtech, at least in the first years of your existence, or even maybe a decade, you should build a balance sheet. Okay, being full stack is very expensive, requires capital that has very different durations and needs for returns. So it's a difficult one to do. It's super heavy administrative, regulatory wise. And so it's a lot of burden for a startup when you don't want to have it, where we don't really see the value, because you can go and get capacity from multiple providers as an MGA. Just building some tech for insurance companies, why not? That can be very valid, but then you build like a SaaS for insurance companies. And when you look at the value, at the different business models in insurtech, you have on one side, on one extreme side, you have what I call traditional insurance with a layer of tech. Those are basically traditional brokers that use all the tech elements to do traditional brokerage, but to add all the tech marketing tools, all the tech to handle the policies. That's one side, and everything is valid. The other side is just to build tech for insurance companies. You build an AI for claims and so forth. And then in the middle of that, you have everything which is distribution in insurance. And there you have several business models. You have D2C, direct to consumers, which has been sexy for a while. Those are the guys that probably raised the most, but have been proven to be relatively challenging on the unit economics point of side. The CAC is relatively high, the churn is higher than expected and so forth. So it's a difficult one. And then you have, what I call the hardcore insurtechs. It's really the B2B2C type of models, or the D2B type of models, where you really need to marry tech and insurance together. And that's the MGA model, where you can completely leverage the tech aspect, completely leverage all the different balance sheets behind. And so you can offer the best pricing to your customers, the best products to your customers. And that's where the innovation is needed, I think.
And that's the model I really like as well. So I've seen some amazing names on your website. You're working with amazing companies, such as Revolut or Deliveroo, Getir, which I've started using during COVID to do my shopping. As well as convenient. It is super convenient, right? Some days, you end up working 15 hours and you still have to cook dinner. I love cooking dinner for my lovely husband. So I will get here to deliver the last bits of things to get the meal. So tell us, why those partners? Because I assume there is also a choice for cover in the company you decide to work with. So tell us how you make choices around the partners you're working with.
Yes, I think the logical ideal customers for us are the tech players. As I said in the beginning, this is the most relevant for people that are digital first, that are tech-enabled companies, and that are cross-border companies. And typically all the companies you mentioned are exactly that. They are tech, they have in the DNA tech, and those companies go in many countries. So in a certain way, that's a perfect match for Qover, because we share the same tech DNA. We have the same startup mentality. We go as fast, we go and get the same kind of money. With VCs, we're fueled by the same thing. And so that's a very natural, I would say, alliance between those companies. That doesn't say that we don't look to the traditional industry. I think historically, the traditional or legacy industry was more reluctant to work with newer players. That is changing and changing fast, and Qover also is now a more mature company where we can have a lot to show for, and so they trust us more than in the beginning, I would say. So whereas it was very hard to do the traditional business a couple of years ago, this has changed, and so there's a huge TAM, a huge market behind for us to go and replace traditional insurance companies, or work with more legacies and bring them the tech and those cross-border capabilities they badly need.
If you had 3 recommendations to give to the young entrepreneur wanting to build his tech company, what would there be?
There's many things, and a lot of them come quite a bit back during the different talks. But first of all, it's simply, if you have the desire to do it, if you feel it, that it's something you want to do, just do it. Just jump and you'll learn how to swim. And what I say is, even if you have a good job somewhere, whatever, the entrepreneur always wins. What I mean by that is, if you jump and you learn to swim, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very tough. You're going to have the impression to drown many, many times, but at the end of the day, you will have done it. And even if it doesn't work, 24 months down the line, you will have learned so much that even if you go back to the traditional world, you will have exploded your network. You will be much more knowledgeable about 1,001 other things. And so if you have the desire to do it, just do it. And there's nothing to be lost, honestly. So that's the first. The second one is, do it with the right people. So many people say that's easy to said than done, but that's the reality. A company is just, a sum of different people working hard together. And so those people need to be, good karma people that you like working with, that are the best in whatever. Just take a lot of time to choose the people you work with, and that seems logical, but it's hard. It's very hard to do. That's the second. And if you want a third one, is go big and go bold. It's more fun.
And I can see that with the things you've done with Quentin. I think one thing you actually highlighted around point number 2, it's about people, right? I mean, businesses still remain people businesses despite us moving digital, and really finding your right co-founders is key, because they can make it or break it. And another point you actually highlighted is everybody needs to work really hard on the project as much as the other. No one can actually stay behind and expect that the others are going to deliver the value, because you actually started building resentment potentially. So it is very, very important to select your co-founders wisely. And
for sure, the co-founder, and then everybody in your team, and then they start. Because also what I see now, how important that is, how to well choose your people, is that when you get to that 100 mark or something, or maybe even before that, those people will start hiring other people and hiring full other smaller departments. And so if you made a wrong decision on that person, there is a big chance that they will make wrong decisions on all the other hires also. So that's so critical. And just spend a lot of time in that, especially in the hiring. Yeah. Sometimes at one point in the company, I think like hiring was like 50% of my job.
Wow. Okay. So you had to make really tough choices and good choices for the growth of the company.
I say 50%, I don't know, but it was, quite a bit of our time when you're growing and you need to hire a lot of people.
Well, you have to continuously be recruiting or actually connecting with people and identifying your next, if you don't mind me saying, your next target. In the world we're in today, I mean, in the UK, it's very, very hard today to find talent and recruit talent. And because people want to join companies with purpose, and in some ways, I would say with choice, what you find is a lot of businesses right now are struggling to find the talent they need to grow their businesses. So, everything needs to be really thought through very carefully. My next question for you, though, is now we talk about talent. Looking at the future, what would be your 3 top recommendations as to where you see us going? The other day it was great. I met one of the executives of Meta, and she really impressed me with the view she had around how the metaverse is going to impact us, help us. We will see. So what's your views of where we are going? Future Tech 101 with Jean-Charles.
I'd love to say that I'm a visionary, but I have no idea on that. On the Meta, I have no clue, to be honest. I have not seen anything. I'm going to do a speech next week in the metaverse. We'll see what that gives. I think it's just going to be with the glasses, but that's something else. I think continue to see is the disruption that will come from tech companies towards the legacy, and the difficulty for the legacy is really the recruiting part that we were saying before, is that we have a huge chunk of the talent worldwide that goes now to tech. Okay, and this is not something that can be changed anymore. This is the wave that has moved and that will continue to move. And so all the talented people coming out of the university today, they don't want to be a banker, they don't want to be a lawyer anymore. They want to, be the founder of a company or join a fast growing company. And that's for the better, 10 times better. So in that broad sense, tech is here to stay in a big way, for sure. So that's not going to change. Then you have the different tech stacks. I'm not an expert in Web 3.0, to be honest. I do crypto like everybody. I read a lot about Web 3.0, but it's not my biggest point. I think we'll go much further in what I know, the insurtech world. As you start to have open banking, you will have open insurance. And the APIs play a big role in that, and will continue to play a role in that. But that's where we're going. It's a much more open insurance world fueled by technology.
So Jean-Charles, my last question for you. Looking at Jean-Charles today and what you achieve and where you are, if you were talking to Jean-Charles when he was 5 years of age, what would you tell him about his path and his future?
Oh, introspective questions. Be a good person along the way.
That's great words of wisdom. Thank you, Jean-Charles. So if people want to find you, what do they do? Where do they go?
Shoot me an email. Or if you don't have it, connect me on LinkedIn.
Tell us, tell us your email. Are you happy if I put it at the bottom of the podcast?
Yeah, for sure. jc@qover.com. Yeah,
perfect.
Spam me if you like.
Parfait. We will spam Jean-Charles with great questions, but hopefully with great inspiration as well around how you build a great insurtech in the world of the future. So Jean-Charles, merci pour être avec moi aujourd'hui.
Merci Sabine.
Et merci d'avoir partagé une vue sur Qover. Thank you for having shared something about Qover with us all today.
Merci pour tout Sabine et à très bientôt.
Très bientôt. Bye.
Salut, au revoir.